Thanks so much, Claire, and thanks for the welcome to country, Auntie Violet. That's brilliant, and putting your hand up is even more brilliant. So that's greatly appreciated. I want to start. First of all, I want to acknowledge there's two of my former Assembly colleagues here, and as part of what we do, we would always acknowledge that. Bill Stefaniak and Kate Carnell. Thanks for being here. But I want to start with that story of Mal Meninga. You know, I tell a bit differently. When Mal decided he was going to be an independent. So my perception of this story started when Paul Osborne brought Mal to talk to me and say, even though we had really quite different philosophies and approaches, we did do a lot of work together. Mal's thinking about running, because Paul's been in his ear actually, and after a discussion in my lounge room I said, listen Mal, you need to actually know why you're running, because that's what people are going to ask you. And so what you need to answer is, what three things do you want to make better for Canberra? Just three. And I said, don't tell me now, think about them. And once you're actually comfortable with that, then A, you've got a good reason for running, and B, when you are interviewed, you can just go back to those. Well, I'm driving out to my daughter's school with my daughter sitting in the car when Mal's being interviewed. And, well, Mal, why is it that you're going to be running for Canberra? Three things, Mal. I'm yelling into the radio in the car. Three things, Mal. Three things. Oh fuck, I can't do this. My daughter, Dad, you're crazy. So look, people who put their hand up to run for politics at all, I always have a huge amount of admiration for them. It is an experience that you will really enjoy. It will be challenging at times, but it is worthwhile and it is exciting. It's even more exciting, of course, if you get elected. Now, if you're going to get elected, and think about those three things, but I also think that what we ought to be doing is, for all our candidates, is we should be setting out our philosophy, our principles, and the approach we're going to take. That's what everybody should know about. And so in my last election, 98, a lot has changed, the philosophy I talked about was a healthy society. But equally, somebody could be talking about equity. They could be talking about living within our means. I don't mind what it is you choose, but think about what it is that you philosophically that you would like to make the difference. And then think about the principles, and we've already touched on those. Independents of Canberra have a run. The ones that I think about are integrity, empowering individuals, prevention from domination. It's a bit esoteric, that one, but that's me. Sustainability in both the economy and environment, openness in government, equity and access to health and education, respect and dignity for everybody, and promotion of initiatives, of innovation, of creativity. I think these are the sorts of principles that should drive any candidate as to what they're thinking about. And then you've got to think about, well, what's your approach going to be? And I think one of the things that was most important for us, when you know there are likely or possibly be a minority government, how do you make government stable? Now, I've been having a chat with Gary Humphreys, who's writing a PhD on the first 4 terms of the ACT Assembly. And can I say that first Assembly was hardly stable. And so we actually began to think about how we wanted to do things. So the most important thing is you remain independent of the political parties. That's actually quite important. And I think this is what the Greens have not done in this in this last term of government. They've effectively formed a coalition. You don't remain tied to businesses, to unions, to anyway. You remain free of those sorts of contacts, and you vote issue by issue on the principles that you've done. You do not trade off one area for another area. And actually, Nick Xenophon, in his inaugural speech in the Senate, explained this very, very neatly and carefully. Remember, he'd been a member of the upper house in South Australia. And then you gain you ensure stable government by guaranteeing that the Chief Minister will remain as the Chief Minister and they get their budget. That's a government responsibility, unless there's reprehensible conduct. And that's, I think, a pretty fundamental as well. But you also have a role to increase accountability. And you want to make sure that the Assembly committees are working effectively and that you can see administrative things occurring that are appropriate. So, yes, you should have policies, but they're based on these these principles, because one of the things you find when you do get elected is, yes, you've got your policies, but actually you're making decisions on a huge range of things that are not in your policies, am I right? And so those principles and that approach are really important. And finally, I'd just like to mention Hare-Clark system. The reason you have independence for Canberra is because grouping will give you, no, it doesn't give you an advantage. It moves away the disadvantage that independence would otherwise have. So you should not be a party. You should have agreed philosophy, probably agreed principles. You might have some extra ones. And then you can work as a group together. And with the sort of support that I see today, there's a really, really good chance that we can have a very different government that we've had for the last, 22 years. That's actually what we really need to do. And so I really look forward to a raft of independents being elected on the third Saturday in October. Thanks.